A few tips for you. For those of you who are playing free to play or just wanting to be cheeky and want free stuff, quit playing the game for a few days. It's about 3 days, roughly, maybe longer. And you'll get this, where it goes, hey, journey back. You can get loot, or Flint, Billy, and Alonzo, for example. And you get this little event called Dawning Return where you can get a bunch of stuff. So if you feel like you're struggling on a regular basis, right? Just throwing that out there. That is an option. I didn't, really think too hard on that until I was like, I haven't been on in a while. And I come back and I'm like, hey, wait a minute. Freebies. Can't go wrong with the freebies. All right? You get some freebies. There's obvious benefit to the freebies here. Okay. That said, one of the tips that I have for you today, okay, and this is kind of one of those things that I feel like is kind of more relevant to the current truck event that I think a lot of people have probably picked up on is pretty cool, right? But one thing that I recommend you do is obviously try to get the best SSR quality, that you can. And then from there, you want to try and put your best heroes, and then in the second one, you're just going to have to do with whatever you've got available, right? And then you want to offer assistance, and if you want to know how to construct this, obviously you're going to need to have the highest quality tiered escort squad you can provide, and that's going to be based on really your deployment capacity, what troops you have available, so on and so on. And then oftentimes, in my experience anyway, you're going to want to go for more of an attack build than you will maybe so much a tank build, So for example, like here, I don't really have a whole lot of choices beyond I can either go Flint, I can go Sergey, or I can go Jesse, right? For the sake of benefit, we're going to go with Jesse, and then we'll throw in Sergey, and then maybe just for added bonus and benefit, we'll throw in someone like Jasser or Jesse or whoever you have for extra benefit here, right? And then there you get your little extra bonus, and you can offer assistance, and basically you'll help other people that are out running their trucks, and obviously you're going to help your alliance in their grand scheme of things, right? The other thing a lot of people don't understand is how do you know whether you're going to win? You want to hit view, and then in here you want to check and see what the battle history was for this and kind of get a vibe for what their army is. So here you can see he's got 39k T9s. Okay, that's just a given. I'm not going to win that. So if I just look, I can look around and see, well, that one's 37k. All right, probably not going to win that. 40k, probably not going to win that. And then here, oh, hey, T6s, 7s. Okay, this is doable. And you kind of have to judge, based on that. Now, even with, like, bad heroes, I can win it just on the principle that, the quality of the hero isn't relevant here when you have really decent troops, right? But, the main gist I'm trying to get to you across here is that at least with the truck route, obviously you want to run as many raids as you can per day and as many departures as you can per day. Yes, you can go out of your way to hit a truck twice, so if you haven't already, you can hit it twice like that, up to 2 times. So if you can do it again, go ahead and do it again, and there you go, you get your extra loot. And obviously the higher quality SSR trucks are ideal, so like you always want to strive for getting those, but inevitably that's kind of what the event has been like here lately. Of course, you probably have picked up on the fact that, as far as, kind of more of my third tip for, just people that have been kind of playing the game casually like I have, all right, is that if you get into this mode, you always want to go in here and you want to move your camps. This is something that I've never really felt like having to explain this to people in the beginning, but now it is more than obvious to me that you want to pay attention to your island. You don't want to completely ignore it. You want to continuously get essence and just continuously gain it however you can every day. Because, otherwise you're really going to losing out on what you can gain from it. But then, of course you can go in here, grab yourself an extra ticket and get yourself some points and stuff. And of course, like right now you want to pay attention to what points are going to be given for what. So like, if you go around and gather right now, you're going to get some points. So obviously sending gatherers out is pretty critical right now, so we're going to make sure we're going to send out some gatherers. Yeah, it's just little simple stuff like that, though, that, it all ends up, it all means something. There's always a method to that madness. Now, that said, of course, Vision of Dawn is going on, so if you didn't already know, basically you need to be saving your gold keys and use this to get some stuff during Vision of Dawn. It's a really good time for that. And, outside of that, guys, I hope you guys are enjoying the Alliance Showdown and Tundra Trade event as much as I am, but those are the few tips that I have so far as the treks and escorts are concerned. Really, outside of that, it's just basically doing the event. Yeah, and you always want to stay ahead of whatever the next event's going to be. Now, going forward, I think a lot of people will have to probably treat this event kind of like they do State of Power. Is you're just going to have to kind of be prepared, stock up on it, and be ready for it when it comes around. And the main thing is to try and get to the last tier if you can, because you'll get some charms for it. Of course, if you're ending up ranking for both the Alliance, right, but also just what you can get in the star, in the ranking itself, there's obviously stuff at play here that's worth getting, so you definitely want to try and rank as quick and as high as you can. It's definitely an event you want to focus in on. You don't want to completely ignore it. Because again, like everything, guys, I've been saying this and I'll say this again, you need fire crystals, and you don't realize how badly you need them in Gen 1, 2, and 3. But by the time you hit Gen 4, man, that really kicks up a notch. Like, you will need fire crystals like crazy. So any opportunity that's providing them is really a good opportunity to try and actually rank in that event if you can. And that all requires saving, right? You got to have stuff left over. You don't want to get into the habit of just burning stuff just for the sake of burning it. And by burning it, I mean using speed ups when you don't need to, using resources when you don't need to. Just having a stash is effectively the way to play Whiteout Survival. I really genuinely think that. But my fifth and final tip, I would say, is if you haven't already, I would say your only other option is really if you haven't paid any attention to the return journey back to the tundra and stuff like that. One thing I think some people probably have picked up on is the fact that if you go to your profile and then you go down here to where you are in the leaderboard and you look at your current hero total power, right? If it's at, like, say, a certain threshold of, like, you can actually look at that number, go back, and then look in the arena and compare where people are in the rankings. And if you're really having a hard time, you can always basically, like, for example, like right now, I happen to know we're in Gen 3. So if you want to get ahead of people, you basically need to plan ahead for Gen 4 and Gen 5. So if for example, you're fixing to go into Gen 3, then you'll more than likely need to have around 400 to 500 mythic shards saved up. And you're wondering, how do I go about getting mythic shards? You just want to level your VIP. And so what I recommend you do is you actually save your gems and do exactly this. I know this sounds like a crazy ass idea, but hear me out. Because see how I'm now getting mythic shards? All you need for the VIP level here is basically the points that you're going to gather from this. You just need the shards. Now here it's going to be active for 6.2, however long. What you can do is, if your VIP level, right, you want to add time to it, you can pay 10,000 gems for it for 30 days. So you can do this and then basically perpetuate the amount of total mythic shards that you gain per day. And this adds up pretty quickly, especially if you take every opportunity to get mythic shards as you go along. And so what I recommend for a lot of people that are, even like during this event where, it's like, okay, so like here I got some charm designs. You always want to make an effort to try and acquire the last tier rewards, because you're going to want to basically farm for mythic shards and you want to farm for the actual crystals themselves. Because I feel like a lot of the time if you want to be in a situation where, and even free to play or mild pay to play, right? If you have enough of these shards, it's really easy to basically go and pick one hero and upgrade it completely and actually have it star level completely maxed out. And having one of those heroes is really advantageous because you can then upgrade their skills once you have all the books saved up, and then you just need to work on the gear. Now, I have told people in the past that really all you need to be doing is just have one set for Lancer, one set for Marksman, and one set for Infantry. I mean, I've always said this, but I feel like I always have to repeat myself because some people are like, well, what about the other two sets that I need for Infantry or Range or Lancer? You know, it's like, no, you're doing it wrong. Like, if you do that, the problem is if you get into the habit of doing that, you're going to find yourself having a really, really hard time keeping up, because the people that don't do that are going to be in a better position in their gear than you are, you know. And so ultimately that's what I recommend. But that said, that is really about it as far as my tips for the day are concerned. I will say that, you know, if you are struggling in this game, which I think a lot of people are if you don't spend in this game, that is really what I think you have to do, is you really have to spend a lot of your time saving for one or two heroes that you're wanting to upgrade. And you got to think not a current generation or even the next generation, but usually about 2 generations into the future, so that you can actually make do and gain what you can from it. But other than that, saving your gems, I think, is paramount, right? I mean, obviously you want to go in here and you want to go do your tech every day. You don't want to be this person that doesn't get the extra alliance coins. You got to grab your chests as well. I mean, these are all things that are just kind of givens, but man, if it doesn't add up, especially if you're AFK like I was for like a weekend, I come back to like having a lot of stuff. It's not always true that every alliance is that way, but one thing you can do if you're wanting to keep track of how many speed ups you have is just go to your inventory, click here, and go by minutes. And that'll tell you exactly how many minute speeds that you have and how many resources you have. This is really helpful if you're just wanting to like prepare for events, because you have a pretty good accurate count of how much you actually have in your inventory. But then again, you know, that's another little fun fact of the day. Needless to say, though, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.